their Cordova creator of the Leicester equaliser. El Khanous, how much room does he have here? El Khanous going for goal, and he finds it as well. What a turnaround here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
4 minutes, Leicester have soaked up so much pressure. Fatawi jinking feet to get beyond his man, and the header from Jamie Vardy makes it 2.
Wood should score. Woodward's Knockout. Yes! Anthony Knockout has done it.
Tielemans lining one up. What a goal! What a brilliant goal by Yuri Tielemans. And the Leicester City fans go absolutely potty.
Ball in behind Damian Vardy. It's 11. It's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Hold the back page. Hold the front page. A Leicester player has smashed the record.
Good evening and welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the best Leicester City YouTube channel on the internet. And it's Tuesday night, and that means it's time to review yet another defeat, because what else did Leicester City do? But before we get into the nitty gritty, let me introduce my fabulous co-host. It's our favourite Dane. It's LCFC Duck, aka Andreas. Good evening, Andreas. How are you on this fine spring Tuesday?
I'm loving the spring, It was February, it was a cold, dark, and most importantly, grey month here in Denmark. So, to see some sun when I wake up and put behind the curtains, it's everything, right? It really helps, especially when the football is depressing. Now the weather at the very least doesn't contribute to that. So yeah, it's really, really nice, man. It's really nice.
Yeah, it makes a big difference for me. And thank God it's come, because it's a lot better than looking at what is possibly the worst attack in the Premier League. Just bring up a few comments. Kunal, evening. This will be torture. Yeah, I've tried to put some jokes in here to lighten the load. Tommy K giving us a bit of a guessing game here. And you know what? It will probably be more interesting than looking at our attack. So why not come back to that in the end? But let's get on with it. 2-0 to West Ham. Big shame if you ask me, and not the most fun game to go through. Let me just get your initial thoughts then, Andreas. 2-0. Bring up the stats right now. I think the big thing is I'm going to look at the previous game we played against West Ham as well, which was a completely different story. So I think the interesting thing here you can see is that West Ham, believe it or not, only had 8 shots in the entire game, but scored 2, 3 big chances. But I think, look, the really depressing thing is, where was our attack? What did you make of this game before we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah, I think Ruud got it wrong in the sense that he tried so hard to fix our leaky defense by being so negative in the way we set up that he completely forgot that we had an attack that was already, on its knees, struggling to really create more than 1-2 good chances a game, if that. And yeah, I think he got it wrong there. I'm at the point where, I'd rather see us concede 4 a game if it means we at the very least contest scoring 4 or 5 ourselves. And it seems like Ruud realized that in the post-game interviews, taking some responsibility, saying he got it wrong. But yeah, boring game of football all around. And yeah, it was just a slog to get through. Boring
Leicester. That's for sure. Well, Ray, you said this is the first time in my life I've actually been bored whilst watching a match. And here you go. Here is an artist's rendition of what it was like to see that match. It was watching paint dry. If anything, watching the paint dry was a bit more interesting. But we'll try and make sense of it and understand what went wrong and why. So, looking at the lineups, what was interesting about this game is that West Ham, they'd just come off an excellent 1-0 away win to Arsenal, where they played this 5-3-2 system. And I thought they would probably revert their formation, given that, we're really not up to much. But I guess Graham Potter, still in early days at West Ham, so he decided to keep exactly the same lineup. And that's interesting, because you would think against a team that has such a lack of attack like us, that this is quite a defensive outlook. 3 centre-backs that occupy an ageing Jamie Vardy. And whilst I think Kudus and Bowen are brilliant, normally they're good on the wing. So I think, look, they got 3 CDMs there pretty much, and their 2 wing-backs aren't really much. So I was quite surprised that Potter went for that lineup, although I can sort of understand keeping a winning team. And as for us, well, the big news was that Facundo Buonanotte came back into the team. Bobby Reid was shifted over to the left-hand side. What did you make of the lineup? Was it just a case of like the definition of insanity? You didn't really get the best out of Buonanotte. No Mavididi was the big thing. No Dakaraiba. What did you think?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it wasn't the greatest. I like seeing Buonanotte back in. I didn't feel like he had a good game, though. I think he's struggling with the physicality in the Premier League. At the beginning of the season, he got a lot of the fouls with him. This time, I think he's getting done a bit dirty by the refs. Too often, he loses the ball. Completely fair because he's being shoved or whatever, and the referees just don't give it. Deacon Reid, yeah, where do you start with that guy? And Vestergaard dropping an all-time performance, sadly in the wrong column, right? All-time stinker up there with, in my opinion, maybe far of the Liverpool 2-1 game when we went down as well. I think it's close to our strongest lineup, and that's worrying, right? That's maybe the issue.
Well, I think the way that Ruud sets us up to play, I kind of feel, as we're seeing now, that it doesn't matter how we do. If we play this particular style, it's not going to work. And I'm going to give some constructive criticism at the end of why we were such a better team last year. And it's not just the case of the division that we're in. And I agree here with LCFC Ruud. Buonanotte on right wing is such a waste, definitely. It doesn't suit his game. And it's weird because in the previous time we played against West Ham, we actually had El Khanous on the left and Buonanotte in the middle, at least in the first half. And I think it worked a lot better. So really, on tonight's show, there's going to be just two main themes. One is our blunt attack. It was awful. And unfortunately, we're going to look at some absolute howlers. Nothing really constructive. Now, what I do want to say, though, and I think for me, this is why I think Ruud's really got to take some massive criticism for this game, is that in Ruud's first game in charge of Leicester at the King Power, we won 3-1. Do you remember this game? This is when we were all so much more positive, Andres.
All smiles, man. All smiles.
Here's the reason why. Now, look, to be fair, this was a game where you can see West Ham had a massive amount of XG, right? 3.14. But although they created this 3 big chances, they had 31 shots. Here's the thing that I don't get. In this game, the reason why everyone was so excited is look how aggressive we were. 7 big chances, 8 shots. We actually looked like we were getting about West Ham. And for me, it was like, yes, finally. That was our big criticism of Cooper. When Steve Cooper was in charge, we were defending a lot. And when we were scoring, it felt like they were lucky goals. Whereas this was game. Do you remember Christensen and Bilal El Khanous were combining amazing? Bilal scored. Christensen was putting these sick through passes through. It just looked like we were so good in this game. So what's gone wrong, Andreas? That's what we're going to look at today. Because that's a big difference. In this game, to be fair, West Ham, they didn't have 31 shots. They only had 8. But the difference is that we didn't trouble their keeper at all. And yes, I very much agree with you, Caleb. It seems like a lifetime ago. That's how draining this season has been. Big time.
Yeah,
so if you remember the last game we played against Brentford, in the analysis for that one, Ruud decided to change it to a 4-3-3. And according to that article that was in the Telegraph, he only decided to do that on the day of the game. Very interesting. But here we were back to our more famous 3-2 build shape. So you can see 3 at the back, Christensen's here and JJ's pushed up. And from an attacking point of view, you can see that early on, yep, Christensen was again going to be the focal point for our attack in terms of joining the attack and putting in a cross. This is what led to Ndidi's shot early on, which was basically our only attacking action really of the first half. We'll come to that in a moment. Not particularly good. But the pattern of this game, which kind of surprised me, was this. Very early on in the game, you can see just how early, 3 minutes in, we were defending very deep in this 4-4-2. And so I think what's happened is Ruud did look at that first game against West Ham and it's like, look, they had a lot of shots. And to be honest with you, they should have won that game. So this time round, I want to make sure that we're not going to give them much. We're going to have to make them work really hard to score a goal. And clearly, I think he's overdone that particular side because you can see just how defensive that we were. They were dominating possession. Now, here's like another example. Again, you can see we've got the compact 4-4-2, but often we'd be pushed a lot higher up. But here you can definitely see this is more, dare I say it, Cooper-esque, and not in a good way that we're defending. And yeah, here you can see 10 minutes into the game. And this was, a bit sickening, really. 87% possession we were giving. We really were kind of, back. And for a team that's struggling at the bottom, a team that we've beaten, a team that weren't that confident, that we were being this passive, which surprised me. And I think it was wrong that Ruud got it here. But what I will say is this. We were watching the game and I was watching this with Manny. And I was saying to Manny, he goes, look, we don't look good, but I will say this, right? West Ham, compared to the other teams that have beaten us recently, what they're trying to do is they're trying to play slow and intricate football, a little bit like Enzo did last season. And that could work. But the thing is that if their wide options are Aaron Wan-Bissaka and John Scholes on the other side, and they've actually put Kudus and Bowen in this, as the middle two, then on paper, that might actually suit us, because they haven't got, like, you know, the thing that's been getting us all season long, Andreas, is the long ball over the top and exposing that lack of pace, turning ability and aerials. So I was actually thinking that, you know, a bit surprised that Potter's gone this way. And if ever there was a game that we could get something, maybe it would work. Now, the problem is, as Manny said, he says, well, you know, the problem is that West Ham are dominating possession. We can't get started in the game. And what the problem is that, you know, eventually they will make half a chance and they'll probably score off their first half a chance. And I was like, don't be so negative, but never question the Manny. And as LCFC Rude himself here says, Rude admitted in the post-match interview that we're sitting way too deep in the first half. For me, it sounded like he didn't want us to do so, but I'm probably misinterpreting his body language there. So what do you make of that, Andreas? Because, yeah, why do you think we were so passive? Why were we sitting off them? And is it depressing, the fact that even when a team plays this sort of slow style that in theory should suit our players because you're getting rid of the pace and physicality, that we're still so bad?
I mean, I think just his setup was wrong, right? The mentality here, as many sadly in the watch along, was right in terms of the fact that on their first half chance, they were going to score. I think this eliminated any unnecessary or any major chances, to be honest. They didn't create anything where you're like, oh, we're lucky not to concede there, unless it came from our own mistakes. And that's the issue, right? Regardless of if you sit very deep or if you push very high, you can never eliminate with this backline at the very least that there will be one or two mistakes a game that can potentially cost a goal. And this time, both mistakes cost a goal. So I think this mentality did very well to try and stop them from creating an unnecessarily high amount of chances again. But the issue was then that we had no chance of building anything up or creating anything of worth ourselves. And then we just gave away 2 goals with, again, the best goals, elite level, shithouse game. He was horrible. I think he's right with that we sat too deep, because we can't be doing that. It doesn't eliminate the mistakes. Nothing will eliminate the amount of mistakes our backline makes. And unless we get new players in, I guess.
Yeah, well, fair play to Steve Dudley here, saying, well, maybe we defended deep because of Vestergaard, maybe consciously or maybe even subconsciously. You know, sometimes you do that in a team, is you look after who you think is the weakest link. Richard talking about McAteer and, you know, his awards carry that he needs to play on Morocco Star and Brighton lad in the same team, just like Rude's first game. We'll come back to that. I think there's definitely not something wrong there to see that. And yeah, interesting one here from Conscious. I think Potter just sent West Ham out to be safe, told them don't risk anything, dominate the ball and wait for a mistake. Yeah. It's not a game you want to lose as a new coach by being too clever. And the sad thing, Conscious, is it worked, didn't it? Anyway,
just shortly, I think that it's that very well could have happened, right? Because I didn't think West Ham were really pushing their luck by any means, and they weren't playing exceptionally well. I thought they defended well. I thought they were really good at defending, but creatively speaking, right, they struggled because we were sitting so deep, and they were just waiting, not making anything too crazy or giving up too much space on the break, and then they knew inevitably we would fumble the bag a few times, and we did, and they managed to score from it.
Well, big time. We're going to come to that in a moment. But anyway, in the early stages of the game, we dealt with their threat pretty well. You can see Wan-Bissaka's on the ball here, Bobby Reed and Victor doubling up on him, and we dealt with him pretty well. And I was thinking again, well, if Wan-Bissaka's their wide option, we're going to deal with them. Like, he's not, got the sort of attacking qualities that other fullbacks in the league do. But unfortunately, it was time for this. So this is my artist rendition of Seagrave and what's going on there at the moment. So what happened? And this is the first goal, and it's a comedy of errors. So West Ham are on the ball here. You can see we've got plenty of man back. We're well defended. Should be hard for them to get through. Ball comes out to Wan-Bissaka, and again, look, not many options on. What's he going to do to drive? But he plays a little 1-2. I think this is with Bowen, and now Wan-Bissaka is going to play the ball over the top. So now there's 2 people on, and this is the move. They try to drag the markers into Wan-Bissaka to make the space in behind. That's pretty good. And I see this is a sort of thing that Potter does do, I think, to give him credit. Like, he used to do this quite a lot with Welbeck, actually, where they might nominally start as a striker, but in reality, they're drifting all over the place. That's the sort of coach he is, right? He likes to be quite fluid in terms of where players' positions are during the game. So the ball's over the top. And now we've got two people on the ball here. Bowen circled here, and this is Souček who would score the goal. And you can see, though, our defence, though, is still pretty well set up. Sumari goes here to try and cover Bowen. Victor's there. And what happens is Victor's going to get to the ball here. Now, just to make this interesting, is what I decided to do with this particular goal. It's the only way I can entertain myself. Sorry, Andreas. Is I'm going to do a count. So you can count with me. This is going to be a bit like Sesame Street. Of how many opportunities were there for us to clear the ball and not concede the goal during this move. So, for me, this is number one. So, Christensen does actually get the ball off Bowen, and there's a few things he could do here. He could put it out for a throw-in. He could go for a corner. He could smash it down the line. There's many things he could do. But for whatever reason, he decides to sort of play it down the wing, and Bowen ends up getting it back. Okay, that's bad. But I'll say in isolation, it's not like it's the worst mistake in the world, but it's definitely one. And I'm liking this. People are already getting their bets in. Probably 10 is what someone's gone. So do type in chat if you want to join in for a bit of fun. So that's one potential way we could have cleared this move. So Bowen's going to turn back in. And here I've got number 2. So now Samare's got the ball here again. And again, I feel like he could block him off, get a bit of tackle, turn him back. Again, you could say maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I think, again, that's an opportunity that we probably could deal with the trouble. And, again, here, if you look at West Ham, they've only got 2 people in the box. We've got loads of people. We're well covered. So, even though they've got the ball, we should be okay here. Ball goes into the middle. You can see Yannick's leaning for it, and the ball kind of ricochets clear. Now, this one for me, that reaction that you've just made is, I feel, because the worst one is coming up now. So this is Buonanotte. Now, again, he's got the ball here, and there's many things that you could do here. He's got time that he could bring the ball down.
Yeah, he's that much pressure. Like, you can have the time to take a touch. Worst case, just ping it out to a throw-in or something. I mean, you have... go on.
He could put it for a corner. He could go for a throw. He could take a touch. He could try and dribble, which is normally what he does. But instead, he tries to clear it. And I have to say that his stronger foot, supposedly, is his left foot. So what a weak touch. So he ends up clearing the ball, and you can see where it goes. Now, that already is pretty bad. And, this player could already come in for a shot. So that's already 3 potential errors. So West Ham got the ball. I think this is Skulls now, their wing back, and he's going to go for the cross. So this is number 4, and you're going to see why. But you can probably see in the positioning of the players there. Who in this move do you think is playing everyone onside?
It's the Big Dane. Look at him.
It is the Big Dane.
He's doing kind of Cody against Haaland at home. No. Oh, it's so horrible, man. It hurts my soul watching this.
So, okay. But then even if he is offside, here we go. Vestergaard is at disabling the offside trap. So now the ball's going to come through. And I don't know about you, Andres, but when I look at that, where the ball is and where it's going to bounce, I think Vestergaard can get to that, right? But because he's slow, because he's not the most mobile, because he's not good at turning, the ball goes through and it goes to Kudus. You can see Mads is already jumping. And actually, he actually does make the save. He actually does make the save. So there's 6 potential ways. Again, if these 2 players were quicker to get in, maybe they could do another move here. But they don't. It falls to Souček, and Souček puts it in. And there you go, Richard. Totally agree. 2 players completely free and not being tracked. And fair play to Souček. He normally has the helicopter celebration, but he didn't do it, even though he always bags against Leicester. So respect there. Very good play, you've got to say. So I count 6. You could maybe put more. Yeah, here's the thing. The crazy thing is he almost saved the second shot, and that's what Mads is like, isn't he? I mean, Mads is the one that can get it. But I mean, just having a look at it here. So in this particular phase of play, you can see, again, here's the thing I always say this about Vestergaard, right? Is that look at his positioning. If he steps up to be in line with phase, I think he plays Bowen offside, right? And I've always said that with him, I think his tendency, because of his lack of pace, is he always takes a step back. But actually, if you're going to commit to an offside trap, he actually needs to think the other way, which is that if in doubt, I need to move forwards, not back, which is crazy. But that's honestly the best way to coach an offside trap, because although initially you will make mistakes, after a while, it will teach you, because it's, you need to catch people off in terms of doing that. So that's in the first phase of play. This one, I think, is even worse. At first, you might think, Christensen is also playing him onside. But here's the difference. To give Victor his flowers, do you see that? There's the big difference, what I'm saying about when your first thought is, should I go back? No, if you're playing an offside trap, you need to step up, even though it goes against your natural tendency. So Victor does step up, and you can see that because he steps up, If Vestergaard had also just kept his position or stepped up, he would also have played Kudus offside, who is who the ball goes to. So again, that's the big thing that he's got to work on. I mean, let's be honest with you. Someone's just put this here. Get Vestergaard out of my back line, or Vestershits to give him his name. But there you go. And Caleb, look, I don't know. I mean, I think, look, I will say this. Okoli's definitely rough around the edges, and that's putting it kindly. But what I would say is that he won't make blunders like this purely from a physicality point of view. So I would obviously be starting him too. And then anyway, now the save's there. And again, I don't like the reaction that he just stands there. Like, you should try and run back, try and put a challenge in. Again, he's pretty I think a faster player can get a foot in there or something. Do you know what I mean? But he's lumbering and he doesn't do. So that's 1-0. And could it get any worse, Andreas? Well, you know what the answer to that question is. So firstly, I will say this. I do remember we were watching this game together, and this should never have been a corner in a million years. And I remember you were going absolutely nuts when I think it was Kudus put the ball in. No one touched it. It clearly wasn't a corner, but the referee gave it as a corner. And I know why you were upset, because you're like, I know what's going to happen when something like that happens against Leicester. And to be honest with you, I could sort of sense it myself too.
The gut feeling never lies, right? And you just had my gut feeling that something was going to go bad. He was going to give away a stupid penalty, or concede, or be very close to at the very least. Yeah. So I think that's obviously a nice pretense for this, right? Should have never been a corner, but this is just rough. 7 errors we've looked at already. You could pretty much spend like a 20-minute YouTube video just ranking them from how embarrassing who's most at fault. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, I think the biggest culprit there was Vestergaard. And what a shotgun. Will he be the culprit again? Let's see.
Well, I want to say this. We're all piling in on Vestergaard, but the thing is like I said with that first thing, Sumari could have got rid of it. Christensen could have got rid of it. Buonanotte could have got rid of it. And like I say, maybe 1 or 2 errors you can understand, but when there's that many collectively in a team, you've got no chance. So although I think he is the biggest offender, it's not just him. Yeah.
Just shortly there, right? I think the biggest offenders goes on this. Number 1, Vestergaard. Fucks it up twice. Number 2, Buonanotte has the time and space to make a right decision. Either clear it properly, play it to James Justin, play it out for a throw-in. You have a million options and you choose the wrong one. Number 3, that is Sumari. He doesn't go for the challenge. And I'm going to give VK credit. He goes for the challenge, then just makes the wrong decision. Wins the ball, but then instantly gives it back. So that would be my ranking for who's most at fault. Vestergaard and
I'm not surprised who's least at fault in the Andreas scale, but we'll come to that in a moment.
Yeah. Right. You can go on about that, but I'm factually correct on that one. That is not my opinion. That is straight facts.
All right, let's start playing through this corner then. So again, if you look at the corner, we're quite well set up. We've got more men in the box than West Ham. Everyone is man orientated. There's no one really that's free. Ball's going to come in. Vardy's here. Now, unfortunately, I've got to say that even the GOAT here is quite hard to see what's going on here. I've got some better angles in a moment, but you can keep your eye on it. So this is such a weird corner. So the ball sort of just falls here to Bowen. Like in first, it doesn't even really beat the first man. It's actually a pretty poor corner from West Ham. It's not what they intended, but it kind of gets stuck on the floor. And then everyone's just stood there ball watching. They're all looking. And look how many people at Bowen there. There's like 5 men around him. Somehow he's got time to spin. I don't know what Vardy is doing here. Spins again. And again, no one's closing down. They're all just standing there. They're standing off him. No one wants to make the challenge. He puts in the ball and it ricochets off Vestergaard and it's another goal. Again, look at this angles. Like he's got the ball here. Like what is going on? FaZe is even, there's so many people in a way that FaZe has to go like, oh, let me look over the other side, just to make sure that this is okay. Again, he's getting in his position. I mean, I'm not really sure. Again, it's, I guess, the big man with the tall legs. You can see where the angle here is. What's going to happen here? It goes through. And then maybe finally a slightly better angle. Is this what comes through? But look, again, this is just comical. How can Bowen in this position with 4 people around him, and it's not like he pulls off some kind of like Brazilian or Argentinian drag back or Cruyff turns. He just literally got the ball turned, and then just fired the shot away. And look, maybe it's a bit unlucky that it goes through people's legs and everything, and it deflects, because that could easily have gone off. Well, to be honest with you, it might have gone through to Kudus, so you can have a look at it, but absolutely awful. And yeah, maybe if there's no motivation from the players, this will happen as they don't care. Self-preservation. And I guess what you're saying there, Richard, is that's why people aren't putting in the challenges, because people are just standing off and they're like, I don't really want to hurt myself. Like, very poor attitude. It's not like the willingness to defend and be desperate. And there you go, goes in. Absolutely comical. So that was 2. And have West Ham made a thrilling attempt there? No. I haven't shown you any fantastical pieces of play. No, it's just literally, here's a 2-0 head start. Do you want it? And they said yes. I think, do you know what really puts this performance in, Andreas? Is I was looking at some of the West Ham fan channels after the game to see what they thought about it. And they all actually, get this, they were all unhappy. They were all like, that was a pretty poor performance.
It was.
I expected better. And it's like, we'd have taken a shithouse 2-0 like that any day of the week, where they absolutely dominated the game, by the way, from start to finish.
We were so like, and that's the thing, right? This is what defined the game. This 7-era long goal we just saw before, with 4 or 5 members included, right? And then we can see this in a relegation season, when this is one of the games in the next 5 games where you'll be looking at saying we could get something. It's just not good enough, man. It is just not good enough. Absolutely disturbing how lifeless we were this game.
Yeah, and both defensively and offensively. So do you remember when Okoli made that incredible goal line clearance against Man United in the Cup? What's happened to that? That's what we need back in the team. I guess because he's not in the team. Anyway, I've just got some special hatred for this player. Now, Harry Winks is... Yeah, well, I want to say this, why? Because last season, Andreas, I had so much praise for Harry Winks. When we first signed him, I was quite against him because £10 million, whenever I'd seen him for Spurs and England, I thought he was so overrated. And then in the Enzo system, he was like incredible. Up until January, he was, I think there's even an argument to say he was the best player in the Championship. He was playing so good, right? And I can see what Rude's saying. He says he thought Winks had a decent game, but I'm going to tell you why my special hatred came out. Because again, if we're talking about a relegation battle, this next piece of evidence that I'm going to show you, I think might make you change your mind.
Just shortly, right, Anil? I love that phrasing, special hatred. It's like me sending someone like a message saying, all good man, hate from Denmark or something. It's absolute elite hate watching, and I love that energy from you. Go on.
Hate watching indeed. So again, we're on the attack here. Bilal's got the ball, and we're going to try and play a little bit of a 1-2. So he's going to play it with Mavididi. Bilal's going to make the move down here, and then so instead, Mavididi's going to play the ball to Victor. So Victor's going to have the ball, and he's going to try and put the ball in. Now we see I've called this Winks giving up. So Victor's going to go for the ball in, but it gets dealt with, which can happen. And so now Ricochet's out, and now West Ham are on the attack. And actually, I've got the ring here in the wrong place, but this is Harry Winks on the ball, number 8. And I also want you to keep an eye on this guy, which is Edson Alvarez, who also came on around the same time as Winks. So again, here's their starting positions. Here's Winks, here's Alvarez, and watch what happens as this move progresses. So West Ham on the attack. Vestergaard, of course, Mr. Slow though, but he's got plenty of pace to get back. Faze, to give him credit, who actually deals with this in the end, is also running back. Again, this is Winks. Again, this is about desire. And remember that at this point in the game, West Ham are 2-0 up, and there's not a hope in hell that Leicester are going to score.
And Winks have been on for like 10 minutes. That's also key to remember, right? This is not an 80-minute I've been powering up and down the field Winks. Maybe someone Christensen has done that all game. Let's just see how he fares as well in that 1v1 in terms of the pace. Go on.
So here already, you can see, look at that massive head start he had. He had at least 10-meter head start, and now they're neck and neck. Okay, so it's 2-on-2 here, and this is the third man. So you, as the midfielder here, look, these two are doing all right. They're ahead of their man that they're blocking. They're even trying to break a bust of gut to get to this guy, but Winks is ahead of him. So as long as he sticks there, at least it's 3-on-3. So that makes it harder for West Ham to score. Now look at this. He's literally slowing down to now he's behind him again. So he was 10 meters ahead. He's now 2 meters behind or a meter behind. The move's going to keep going. He literally just stops. Look where Alvarez gets to. The ball's going to get played here, and luckily he's greedy here, because if he just slots the ball across there, he would have got the ultimate punishment. Again, look at his body language. Completely stop him. Ball comes here. He's free. He's actually made up so much ground. He even checks his run to make sure he's not offside. Insane. Right, but fair play to Faze. Faze actually goes in with
That's my Dane Vestergaard.
Oh, it is. You're right. It's Vestergaard.
That's the one good thing he did that game. He was, and I'll make it very clear, absolutely horrific. But that's still one good thing in that game. So he needs some credit for that because
you're right.
At least it wasn't 3-0, right? He might have made it 1 and 2-0, but he will not make it 3.
No one scores 3 goals past Yannick Vestergaard unless you're Everton, Brentford, Newcastle, or all the other Arsenal, or many of the other teams that have done it this season. But yeah, absolutely. But yeah, absolutely agree here. Ferguson was taking way too long there. Could and should have been 3-0 there, and that's maybe where they should have been. But like I say, look at that again. That's absolutely ridiculous. Playing this move through. Look at that. Just look at where he is there, and you can sort of see this almost in real time. Sorry. You can't
be doing that.
Exactly. Winks pulling this off with Savage and Lennon were both on TV commentary sums up our season really. Also, what has happened to Ferguson 2 years ago? This was 3-0. Yeah, well, to be fair, that's the thing. Evan Ferguson got like quite a bad injury, didn't he? And it's definitely affected him because, yeah, I think any striker, I mean, come on, man, you got to be putting that away.
I mean, even Jamie Vardy would hit the target with that one. And that's well, he's good at finishing. Patson Daka would hit the target with that one. We saw it in the reverse fixture against West Ham, right? From that angle, he smacked it into the roof of the net.
To be fair, he just takes too long on the ball, which gives him the challenge. He needs to hit it first time. But anyway.
I mean, that's crazy when it's Vestergaard who has to close the gap, right? If you're giving him enough time to get back, you're doing something wrong, buddy. You're doing something
That's when you know you're off form, off form, right? You know. All right, let's have a look at this. Our blunt attack. It says even Jamie Vardy, but I mean, the Jamie Vardy as of right now is not shooting too well.
I said sorry, that's disrespectful. Jamie Vardy is the GOAT, man. I love him, but he has been in poor shape. He has been in poor shape in front of goal these past 10 games, I want to say. There's a few too many of those kind of situations.
Yeah. I think the Palace one is the one that haunts me still. But look, I'm going to show you just why we were so bad in our attack, and then I'm going to give some examples later on where we could improve. It's obviously everywhere. But here's some classics. So Buonanotte, this is both the good and bad of Buonanotte. Good because he's a tenacious guy. He gets stuck in. He often wins the ball high up the pitch, and he does win it here. But what's the bad about Buonanotte? Head down, looking at the ball, doesn't take time to look up and scan the picture. So he keeps moving on. You can see Bilal's almost sort of like maybe put the pass here, the ball into here to keep the move going. But instead, he just hero balls it, ends up losing the ball. So that's definitely a weakness of Buonanotte, and you can see, look, there were other options that we could kind of get to it. So that's one thing bad. Here's another move. So Justin gets the ball here, and he's just going to go for a simple ball over the top. And let's give the GOAT some credit here. Despite being fairly old and they're up against a much more physical player, he actually wins the ball off here, gets the ball, spins his man, and gets in behind. But West Ham, 5 men back. There's only one other person in the box here, which is Bobby Reed. He's shadowed by 2 men. Again, he's got the ball here. Where is someone busting a gut to get in here to join the attack? This is another problem with our team. And this is why we're 9 games goalless in the last 12 matches. It's like they don't want to score. They might say they want to score, but if they do, why aren't they doing it? We keep saying Premier League's all about transition football. And it's not like he's just done that. That's a few seconds have passed there. And by the time he does play the ball back, this is Kanoos. And you see, he's still well far away. And there's only one other person. Where is anyone else in this attack looking to try and score a goal? You've got to try and, join the attack. It's not enough people. If you only have chances of 2 people in the box, it's going to be very hard to do it. And it's a fair point. Give Vardy 3 chances and he'll score 1 or 2. Trouble is we don't give him any chances. He didn't get any chances in this game, and he's made that for himself, a bit like the old one. And here's the one that was a real killer, I think. This is maybe the one nice move. This was at 0-0 as well. Vestergaard's got the ball. He's going to play it to Victor, and this was reminiscent of that first West Ham game. You can see that Kanu spins his man. He's going to make the run in behind. Great ball, great sliding, progressive pass from Victor Christensen, plays it down the line. Kanoos gets it in. And this is the one time where actually you've got Vardy, who is in a good position. You've got Ndidi, who's looking to join the attack. You can see Buonanotte's on his bike. He wants to join the attack. So this actually looks like where we could get something. But Kanoos, he should really, in my opinion, just play that first time. But instead, he had a really poor game. I don't think we talked about this too much. He is probably been our best player in the last, definitely since Ruud's come in, but he had a stinker himself today. He was guilty of what Buonanotte did, dawdled on the ball too much, and the move's gone. You can see how disappointed he is.
At the very least,
this time,
the passion in him, right? That's something, he makes mistakes. He's not perfect, and he did have a stinker. But I love to see the fact, like this early into the game, like this isn't for a 90th minute winner. It could have potentially been, a very good chance. Not around a 100% chance. He has to make a very difficult ball first. But he's more annoyed than, some of our players are for literally conceding an own goal or making a massive blunder just for this one situation. And I'll never really hate Kanush because he at very least puts everything out there every game.
He does, but we need more than that right now.
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely do. It is not good enough.
To be fair, though, I think this is, again, the problem with the Van Nistelrooy system is that it's too patient and it's not direct enough. And that's what we're going to come to towards the end of where we can improve. So, that was it. There was nothing. I got nothing from the second half really to show you, Andreas. It really was that poor. I just want to talk about this as well. I thought this was also appalling. So at halftime, no subs. He waited until the 61st minute to make a double sub. He took off Sumare, who did have a bad game, I've got to say.
Yeah, he was
to
poor.
put wings. But why wasn't Mavididi put on earlier? Bobby Reed did basically nothing the whole game. Luke Thomas and Daka on at 87 minutes. What's the point? You're not even going to give them 10 minutes. I mean, this is just padding their statistics. It's not giving them anything. We were 2-0 down. Who cares if they scored that to make it 3-0? We never troubled them in their goal. Appalling for me. And I just didn't like it. Whereas you can see West Ham, where even themselves are more progressive. They made a triple change around this point in time, right? Getting more players on. They gave Ferguson 20 minutes, 25 minutes even. We didn't give our striker that. I don't get what Ruud's doing now. He wasn't like that before. That's how it ended. And you can see that there's just nothing to talk about from a Leicester perspective. And I think that's the worst. This wasn't even... Weirdly enough, even against Brentford, we lost 4-0. We did actually look good for 10 minutes and we had a bright start. We never got going in this game. We just literally never did anything, and absolutely appalling. So just going to give you my match thoughts quickly. West Ham played a game that should have suited us. It was slow and patient build up, but without much pace. But despite that, they still won easily. They didn't even have to get out of first gear, I don't think. There was nothing to get excited about during the game. The players were just going through the motions. And there was a complete lack of urgency in all aspects of the game. And from the manager, we're hugely disappointed. So, like I say, in those defensive aspects, no urgency to clear the ball. That corner, no urgency. The ball just drops. No one's there like, mine, I'm going to deal with this. Nothing at all. In the attack, Karius doesn't play at first time. No one being urgent to try and support the attack and getting in. Just not there. And I hate to say it, but I can only say that like the team talk before the game must have been just a damp squib, because they played like they had no motivation. You need Luke in there. Get Luke from blue tinted glasses in there to rile them up before the game and half time, and maybe we would stand a chance.
Yeah.
So as I've been telling you, Andreas, I've been bringing up the fact that I've been burning my turtleneck. What are Leicester good at? Want to credit LCFC data. Locke sent this to me earlier in the week. So now we've got a graphic visualization of the chart that we made. You've got the Steve Cooper era. You've got the we haven't got a manager era, and then you've got the Ruud van Nistelrooy era. And it's much of a muchness. Basically, what this shows is we're slightly better at keeping the XG against us down. But look at this. This is absolutely stinky. This is just like a team. Here's the facts. The facts were, when we had Steve Cooper in charge, they might have been fluky. They might have been lucky, but at least we were scoring some goals. Against Ruud, someone brought it up. It's something like 9 shutouts for the opposition in 12 games, and that's what's really harming us. It's like it's always been said, you've got to be able to score goals if you want to stay in the Premier League, because you've got to win. Quite often teams can go down even conceding 60 65 goals, but if you're not scoring, you've got no chance whatsoever. Yeah, guys, keep getting these comments in. I will read them out in a moment. There's some really good ones.
I think it's fair to like take a look at the clinicalness, right as well. Like we've not been effective. Like under Cooper, you can see some of these games where Palace created 1.2 XG. Well, we got 2 goals in a game. The Man City home game. Look at that, man. That is against Man City. We didn't score a single goal, but conceded 2. I mean, we haven't been good enough in attack. We haven't been clinical enough in the attack, and I think that's one of the big issues. Like the Palace home game as well, right? Look at the XG there. Didn't score a goal. And in the past 4 games, it seems like in an attempt to try and bring the XG against us down, which, to be fair, has happened, we have completely destroyed our own chances or XG created, right? Because, I mean, it's been straight up embarrassing these past 4 games, and it's not good enough. I want to see someone like Mavididi back in the starting 11. I think he must start, even if he's selfish and not perfect. Well, he can create something. I'm open to seeing anything at this point. If he comes out and tells me that he thinks Oliver Skip should be playing in some kind of position, I'll be open to it. He just needs to set us up with the positivity in mind. Bring Casey McAteer back in. Give him another run in. He loves the club. And I mean, he does have some pace to him. And every now and then his dribbling and finishing is actually quite good. change it to a 4-4-2 and play Patson Daka or whatever as well alongside Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, I
want to
don't
see
get
something
why he
new.
doesn't do that. Yeah.
I just want to see something new. And if I don't agree with it, I will be fine. But this fact that Ruud has seems to gone more and more backwards in terms of his mentality in the game. You know, we're setting up, like we're less and less confident. We're, especially in the last game, we set up not with the intention to score a goal, but with the intent that, you know, the goal not to concede one. And that's not the way we'll be winning Premier League games with the defense we have. We can't win games like that. So as long as the changes he makes are to try and improve the attack, I genuinely do not care if I think they are smart or not. I just want to try and see him do something. If it's this or that or the other thing, or if this academy player or McAteer or whatever it might be, I just want to see Ruud try and do something to fix that attack, and I'm open for anything.
Absolutely. I feel like even Cooper tried more than what Van Nistelrooy is. And Chester, I agree, hate these players. I mean, like I showed you, that's why I've got the hatred there for players that literally stop when you're due. Yeah, look, there are some other ones. I'll even say it, like, you get a lot of criticism, Doc, for defending Christensen, but I will say about him, he is one of those few players that you see him come off the pitch at the end and he's actually sweating. Like actually, has put in the shift. There's one or two players like that, right? I think Ndidi's the same. Like, I think that Ndidi has still been pretty good for the season, right? Mad's the same, but there's just not enough of them. I'm just going to read a few more comments out. Yeah, Richard, players have given up. Agree. Managers seemingly given up. That I think is I actually think that's the bigger thing. If you're a leader and you've given up, it's going to transmit down. And on top of that, we have a poorly coached side defensively and attacking wise. It's a sad state of play. Why aren't the players embarrassed? Yeah, maybe they are, to be honest.
They are, man. They definitely are.
Dimitri, welcome. Yeah, just came to say I really appreciate your deep analysis. Seems like it is the job that Ruud doesn't do at all. What can I say? It's not that much fun, though. There you go. Our squad is bad, but remember who helped build that squad in the summer is what I would say, because I know you've got a lot of Forest fans in the chat.
If I just were to say something about this as well, I think like we are in the darkest period of the season right now, because even in like those losses we saw over the holiday window, look at some of those games, man. City at home, we scored against Liverpool away. Like we showed life and we showed growth, and this is the first time where it feels like the changes that has been made have been absolutely awful from Ruud. He's really gotten it wrong these past few games, and I need to see something different from him. I think he has to dig deep. I think these next 4 or 5 games is when like the tide has to at the very least change to some degree for me to be the slightest bit positive. But yeah, this has been a tough period, and I don't know what will get us out of this circle, because it feels like everyone associated with the club, fans to players to coaches to managers, are all in this rut currently, just filled with negativity. Like it's almost nauseating how negative we all are, and even myself to a degree have become. And hopefully something.
To be fair, Andreas, though, the club gave up in that January transfer window. I'm sorry.
I agree. I think it's like it's that energy where you're getting from everyone, like pretty much every player except for, I want to say, Hermansen, Kanush, Christiansen, and Vardy, and then Didi actually, who always seem to leave everything out there. There are very few, like the players seems like they are like full of negativity and a negative mindset. Ruud as well. It's a tough environment to be around, and the club as well to a degree, right? Like they're constantly just posting Mahrez goals over and over because we don't do anything ourselves. Like there is no positivity, nothing to keep us going for the club at the moment, and it's almost darker, currently than it felt like when we got relegated last time.
Well, yeah, and look, I think a lot of that does come on the manager. Just want to answer our resident Everton fan, Daniel O'Connor. The expected goals against is fairly similar, despite the fact that Cooper set up more solid. We will say that basically Mads Hermansen, before he got injured, was absolutely ridiculous. I honestly don't think there was a better keeper in Europe. You have a look back at the Arsenal game where we conceded 4 and Hermansen got, literally, I'm not making this up, he got rated on SofaScore 10. I've never seen that happen before. And he got man of the match. Absolutely incredible.
I genuinely stand by the point that he was the best keeper in the league up until that injury.
But I do have to say, since he's come back from injury, he's not looked quite as good. I'm not putting that much blame on him, but it's definitely true. And agree with Locks here. The players' negativity has rubbed off on the fans. I'd go further than Locks and say I think it's the ownership's negativity, like their lack of talking to the club. I've said this before, right? You can go out there and you can try and rally up the the fans and troops by showing that you care. If you show that you don't care, you can't even be bothered to talk to your own fans.
Yeah. I'm with
Blue
you
tinted
there.
glasses talk to the fans more than Leicester City Football Club.
I am with you. I think that's a key point. I do disagree with Locke saying it's the players' negativity that came first. To me, it feel like, this all accumulates from the summer, right? And all those issues from there. But if we just look short term, we were open for Ruud. We were doing well. The January transfer window came in, and we were all ready to give it that extra shot of, some good signings. We were all behind him. We were all ready to give it that extra go and give it that push. And when that transfer window fell short and the results didn't improve, that negativity or, perceived negativity from the board led to us, which then led to us becoming more hostile towards the players because we were not happy with what we had out on the pitch. And then that created the evil cycle where now everyone just seems to be fueled up with negativity. I agree with you there. I think it comes from the board first, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, though, to end the show is I wanted to say this, right? Like, so how would you actually fix things? Why is it that the goals that we score, or it's not even the goals that we're scoring, this shows you that we're not even creating chances, because we're not. I didn't even show you a shot. We had one shot on target from, I remember, Wilfred and Diddy in that game. Why is it bad? So last season, we had this lad in charge. Enzo Maresca was his name. Exciting up-and-coming manager. Beautiful, bold man. And here, we scored a lot of goals. And I'm going to give you some examples of the goals that we scored. And I'm going to explain the very simple things about why we were better at scoring goals. You might say, oh, yeah, but you were playing in a championship. Yeah, I get that. But I'm talking about from a structural point of view too. So here's first thing, right? When we're attacking, right? More people in the box. Oh, revolutionary, Andreas. If you put more people forward. So I showed you earlier in the game, Jamie Vardy gets the ball and all he had was Bobby Reed to go for. Here, though, you can see that we've got 4 people in the box. Mavadidi's on the ball. And Didi, here's a big thing I've got to say with our midfielders, and Kanous especially needs to learn this. What Enzo said a lot last season, you might remember, is he used to say, oh, yes, the midfielders need to learn how to arrive in the box.
Yeah, the box crashing midfielders, right?
Yes. That was his way of saying they need to box crash. And that's why Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, prior to Enzo becoming manager, wasn't getting as many goals as he should do, which I'll show you in a moment he really fixed. So Mavadidi gets the ball. He puts a really nice cross in. And look at this. This is the desire. This is the urgency to want to attack. Gets on the ball, heads it, and that's a goal. So we scored there. This was 3-0 against Southampton, right? Now I'm going to show you another one, right? So here's transition, which is the thing that's been going wrong all season. We have no threat on transition. So here's Southampton. I think this is Joe Aribo on the ball, and he's going to try and cross it into the middle. Ball goes in. Vestergaard, urgency this season. He gets it. He deals with it, plays it out straight away, and he manages to find Dewsbury Hall. He turns. And now look at this. This is the difference. Instead of Harry Winks, who stops running at this point in time, everyone goes forward. There's 4 people attacking the move. Vardy's on the bike. Mavadidi. Fatau, look, I will say it's pace.
I miss him. I miss him.
But Dewsbury Hall as well, who we don't talk about enough. He is better than, both Bilal and Buonanotte. Of course, those two are younger. I think they are both much better than Dewsbury Hall at the same age. But he still, did this. Plays it through to Vardy. And here again, because we're attacking with a lot of men, Vardy, he could try and score like Ferguson did. But again, the urgency. Unselfishly, he played the ball across, goes into Fatau, and that was his hat-trick for 5-0. But that's a transition attack. And what I can't show you, but I have got some clips in a moment, is the pace of this attack. That was the bigger thing. It wasn't slow. It showed you that we could get up the pitch fast. And that's why, to be honest with you, I'm just so upset about this season, because Enzo had set the team up correctly to be in with a chance against Premier League teams, right? Enzo, he struggled actually when teams parked the bus. But as I keep saying to you, in the Premier League, teams don't park the bus. So we should have been really well set up to take them. And yes, KDH was a cheat code. And I'm going to show you another one in a moment, which is really, really good. So here's another example. This was against Birmingham. We're in yellow this time.
Yeah, it's getting so warm. I'm full of love again, man.
Now, what actually happened here, believe it or not, is they were unlucky. I think this is Jordan James, whatever his name is. He's gone to France now, and it came off the bar. But after coming to the bar, it ricochets. Here's Mavadidi, here's Fatau. And again, it's all about pace on the attack. And we attack. Now, for sure, you might be looking at this and saying, how can I see this as a Wayne Rooney team without me telling you it's a Wayne Rooney team? Because they've got 1 centre-back there and 3 people pushing up. But again, this is Fatau, this is Mavadidi. That's pace, that's power, that's direct attacking, right? The opposite of Ayew and Bobby Reed, right? They're going forward, plays it into Mavadidi, and what a deft little chipped finish this was over John Ruddy. And he gets there, and he even sat on the sidelines like this, looking all Baller, exactly. Yeah, that celebration from Abadidi. But point is, again, is what is it? We haven't done this once all season. Where from my own corner, look how quickly we surged the desire, the urgency. 2 players, they want to take the game to them and win it in what was a hostile away game. We get the goal. Same game again. Again, another point. You can see, look, compact 4-4-2. You know, Ruud's got the compact 4-4-2, so that part of the game he's got right. But what he hasn't got right is that when, you know, here again, the urgency, win the ball back. Ndidi, of course it's Ndidi. He's going to win you the ball back, right? But now we're going to get on the bike, right? I think this is that might be Ricardo on the ball, but we've got the ball, drops it in through. What a pass this was, by the way. Slides it through into Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. Again, box crusher, the urgency. No one to go to, I'll go it myself. I've got one frame missing here, but he ends up going round the keeper and slots it in for 2-1. Again, a brilliant goal. And why was it again? Again, it's the urgency. Here's the thing with Enzo. Look, I'm not going to say that Enzo didn't have his faults. Like I say, I think his fault was that against teams that parked the bus, he wasn't willing to go direct enough. But we attacked with intent. You know, all the players were getting forward at the right time. And here's another one. I've got a little gift for you here. So again, this is us on the ball, and this is actually a time where we send defense into attack. So this was against Stoke. They could almost have scored, but Ricky P is going to deal with the ball here, right? And again, get the ball forwards fast. So that's one pass, already taken 4 people out of the game. Winks, slots it through. Look at this. This is Justin. Plays well. Look how fast that is.
I missed that.
That is back to front. Do you know what? Let's even do a little count together. Let's do like a little rough timing count from when we get the ball to how long we score. So let's say here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 seconds. And that's probably slow by Premier League standards, right? To turn defense into attack, right? That's the point. You know full well, if that is this season, that ball gets played into the wing and they turn back. They allow the other team to come back to reset the defensive shape and the attacker's gone. That's the big difference. And you know what? Just because I've got one more, I wanted to bring some more out. So this was, do you know what? I'm convinced that this guy is Enzo because I've noticed that this season he's posting clips of Chelsea. But these are some clips of some of the best moments from last time. Again, you can see, just look how much faster we got the ball forward, right? And try to make attacks happen, right? Again, look at these vertical passes. Look at that. No nonsense. No playing it backwards. How many people are supporting the attack there? 4 people are attacking the attack. We're in yellow here. I think this is the Birmingham game again, right? Again, Winks. No turning back.
This is the Ipswich game. Oof. That one we
should have won. Forwards. Yeah, you're right. It is Ipswich. Yeah, this is at the well spotted there.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Boxing Day.
Look at that cross, first time in.
Boom. We didn't score from this. Yeah. Sadly, missed touch. This is the penalty claim, is it not? From Dewsbury Hall.
I can't even remember, but let's just enjoy this because this is when
I miss this so much, man. When we watch this week in, week out. Yeah. No, it's not the penalty claim, it's a cross.
And you can say, well, okay, the quality opposition is worse, right? But I'm saying to you, it's not just that, right? It's the fact that this team had much more coaching structure. Is because the team wanted to attack. Again, look how many people are forwards. Look how many people. Look at the speed. For me,
that's the Rotherham 2-1 game. That's the McAteer late winner cut inside. Woo-hoo, man!
The biggest difference with this game is, the speed of the attack. It's as simple as that. This is against our favourite opposition, of course. We managed to be fair. We managed to stuff this one up pretty. Okay, I could go on and on and on, but you get it.
Can we please? I'd rather next week if we lose again, man. Can we please just watch a compilation of Enzo ball? I can't deal with more of this negativity. That there was what I tuned my screen in for. I turned it on and I just sat there for 90 minutes, man. And I loved almost every single minute. A few games where the opponent sat so deep we struggled, but that season, Enzo Maresca, you could tell it was an elite manager. And I mean, Dewsbury Hall and Academy lad getting minutes for Tao's breakout season, Mavadidi on his redemption arc really in England, you had to feel like. And I was so excited to see what he could do. I still believe it has it in him, man. I miss that football so much. Like, that actually just made my day. My smile is back, Anil. Thank you.
Same here. But as I say, so this is a good question. Is it speed of the attack, the speed of the opposition, or a bit of both? And it's a bit of both. Mix. Yep. But I mean, look, I give them their roses where they're doing it right. One of the teams that's best at doing it this season is Forest, I hate to admit, because in Elanga And in Hudson-Odoi, they've got 2 players that are rapid. And so when they make a transition, they generate a goal scoring opportunity of it really effectively, really efficiently. That's what we need to do. And the problem is that if you're literally lining up with players that are slow and can't beat a man one-on-one, then what do you expect to happen? And that's the thing. Now, to be fair, right, a lot of things, yeah, shows how motivation can change your fortune. Agree with you. Rude as Dracula sucking the blood out of a team. Yeah, the life is gone. They don't have that, right? I love this from Joe Smith. What is this concept of invading the opposition half? Sounds provocative to me. We definitely don't do it, right? And yeah, look, the speed of the opposition is faster and our speed on attack is way slower. That's true. But as I say, if you line up with certain people, look, I will say that in the summer again, Buonanotte is a good player, but he would have been a Dewsbury Hall, not a Fatawu or Mavadidi. I think the fact that we needed to sign at least one proper, you can call them winger, you can call them inside forward. But what Enzo said is that player needs to be fast. They need to be good at one-on-ones in terms of beating a man dribbling. That is crucial for that position. And we didn't sign that player and it has affected us. And so we played a stupid system of the overlapping fullback. Our fullbacks aren't even that good at doing it. Maybe they're okay. And that's so. Anyway, let's get back to the league. So where does that leave us? 17 points, 5 points behind Wolves. They've got Everton next. Let's hope that Moyes can do us a favour. We've got the return of Enzo, although we're going to his yard this time around. Fun fact, actually, I just rode past Chelsea on the weekend to see their stadium. Here are our fixtures, and let's go, bruv. I'll bring up some of your comments in a moment there. Yeah. Okay, so Chelsea, then we've got Man United, which, I don't know, that one maybe we've got a chance, but then it's Man City, Newcastle, who, in my opinion, they've given us the biggest tonking out of anyone this season. They were super impressive in that game at St. James's Park. Brighton, we did well against them last time, but I don't see it going that way. And then we've got a casual trip to Liverpool thereafter, not looking that too good. Here you go. But Anil, we're not the same team as last year. I mean, the personnel are so radically different. Totally agree with you, Keith. I will say to you right now, in my opinion, the team that we have right now isn't as good as the team as we had this time last year, which sounds crazy, but it's true, right? Some of it is injury related. If we had Ricardo Pereira, if we had Abdul Fattah in the team, that allowed us to play that system with 2 direct wingers that could beat their man one-on-one. This year we don't. And I also think that we don't acknowledge that Kiernan Dewsbury Hall was really good last year. Really good, right? And you can even see, I showed him in some of those clips that, look, I'm not saying indeed he does need to be an attacking midfielder, but he could win the ball high up the pitch, right? And he scored a few goals there, which is true. I want Yunus Akgun so bad instead of Bobby de Cordova-Reid. Yeah, I mean, he's having a ridiculous season, by the way, Yunus Akgun. I'm not 100% sure he would do it in the Premier League. I've got a feeling he could be one of those players where some players are made for certain leagues. Like, I don't know if you see Christian Pulisic did well in Germany, doing amazing at Milan, stunk the place out at Chelsea. Just happens sometimes. But maybe. I for what it's worth, I think a lot of us were fans of Yunus. We could tell there was a player in there, but I think we did think he needed a bit of time. Daniel O'Connor, I'm pretty confident Everton beat Wolves at the weekend. I bloody well hope so, mate. Do us a favour, please. We're counting on you. Moyes, don't let us down. And poor recruitment has killed the way that we could play and survive. Thanks, Cooper.
Just to say something, though. Chelsea, they did better Southampton, but they were piss poor when they played against Villa. Watching that game with my mate who's a big Chelsea fan, he was very disappointed, and I was disappointed too. I expected to see some good football instead of Leicester, but that didn't happen. So I think, there's maybe 5% chance we get something instead of 0. And that's, I'll take anything. I'll take a hard-fought point. I'll take a good game with 0 points, but where he's made the right changes. Anything at this point. I'm so desperate. I'd go back to the period where we're saying this is something to build on, because currently there is nothing. So I just want to see something there that we can be proud of, that I don't have to hide my Leicester shirt. In Denmark, we have something called Football Friday, and it's on this Friday. And I'm debating, like, it's where, as many people as possible wear some football shirts, in public to raise awareness for child cancer. So we raise money for child cancer across the whole country. Yeah. And I am genuinely questioning if I dare to bring up my Leicester shirt or if I'll be ridiculed all day wearing it. And if I take on something different. It's at that point I've reached to. So I want something to be proud of in this team again. I want to be proud of the Foxes once again. And even though we might go down, please let us be going down fighting tooth and nail for it, and not just with our heads held down like we've been doing the past 4 games.
Yeah, we've given up. It's ridiculous. I'll say maybe I can see some players against Chelsea that because it's Enzo, they might want to show that they're better than what they are. But if you remember when Steve Cooper got sacked, Harry Winks, I don't know if you remember this, but he went off injured after 10 minutes in that game. And I personally think that he basically was playing, knew the style of play, and he was like, I don't want Enzo to see me like this. So he deliberately
I don't want Enzo to see me like this.
He was the one that said, I miss you, Enzo, with that sign. So I don't know. There's some weird guys in the team right now. We'll have to see that. But yeah, look, Thomas Wilkes, you made me laugh, mate. It's feeling bad for Tete. He's only been good in Ukraine. Yeah, I don't think he was even that good in Brazil, is actually what I heard.
He's in Greece, I think, yeah.
He is at the moment. He's at Panathinaikos, isn't he? But we'll have to see. Bring back youth in the team, just like we had when we were playing at our best. I mean, look, someone mentioned Casey McAteer earlier, just because at least he's got some pace. I don't know. It's different. And yeah, look, we've been giving up at the end of the season for the past few seasons. Have we done it? Maybe for the last 5 or 6, because even last year, really, we had that massive slump. I will say that I feel that slump now was a warning. It showed you that we had that weak mentality. We shouldn't have done it. Wing spotted it. He did, but they all did.
Last season, we were able to get together around, was it late March, April time, and put in not a brilliant shift, but a not brilliant football for a period of time, but a brilliant shift in terms of the work ethic we put out on the field in that West Brom game at home, the Norwich game at home, when nothing was going our way. We made it go our way. And even if we go down, if I just see that fight in every one of the players, I'll be somewhat proud of them, because obviously the season hasn't been good enough, but I don't want to go down like Southampton, where we just don't look like we wanted. And that's what hurts me the most.
Yeah. I was saying, do you remember that game around this time last season where we played West Brom and Hamza Chowdhury was making 3 or 4 goal line clearances?
That's exactly what I'm mentioning, the West Brom at home, right? 3-4 goal clearances. So we were Vardy missed penalty. Doesn't matter. We're gonna get those goals. We're gonna win this game. And they made it happen. And the late winner again, was it against Birmingham at home, 2-1, where Akgun played the cross in for Mavididi to tap it home, in the 87th minute. That was in April, I remember. And those games where we so desperately needed those points and nothing was going our way, but we didn't play brilliantly, but we brute forced those results home. And I just want to see that mentality and fight out there. And I can at the very least be proud of that then.
Yeah. Question for you, Andreas. May I ask, do you think Vardy could play in a goal-chasing 2 up front for a Premier League team next season? I think he could, and on a free, why not?
I don't think so. I don't think he would. I think, dude, I have a bit of a weird brain in that sense, right? I have some very vividly good memories of that championship season. But I have also recently, in a period of time over the winter, just rewatched some of the highlights from those games to bring back some good memories of Leicester. So that's why I remember some of them so clearly. But for Vardy, I don't think he would tarnish his legacy at Leicester at all by leaving to another Premier League club on a free when we go down. I think he either goes for 1 more year at Leicester, he retires, or he goes to somewhere abroad for a shitload of money, be that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, whatever. And I think it's one of those 3 choices. I currently think the most likely is retirement and then going to Saudi Arabia. And then third is another year at Leicester. But I don't think he, in the slightest, want to tarnish his Leicester reputation by going to, let's say, Crystal Palace or something to be playing another season in the Prem. Don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this. If I was Vardy, I would go America or something. I reckon he'd
something
be
that, abroad, right? For
I think they would.
Money.
I think have 1 season. I think they would absolutely love him over there. Is shit housing, and he would do absolutely brilliant. We'll see. Thomas Matthews, we should have done what Not Sorensen did, have clear the decks of a championship team, rebuild using cheap, young, or experienced players. But we didn't. The board literally said that'll do. Yeah, I agree with you in part. I think the mistake we made is we did go for those experienced players, right? I think the IUs and the Bobby Reeds, you could say that it didn't cost us that much, but I would argue that what they've cost us is they've cost other people spots in the team. Because I don't know if you remember, but for Tau, when he first started playing for us, he hit the post in his first game, but he actually looked a bit wild in his first 5 or 6 games. But then he settled down and he became a monster, right? And I think that's happened with quite a few players, right? Even Bilal didn't start the season off too good before becoming one of our important players. So I do agree with the rest of it, though. That I think our mistake is that we overvalued certain players like FaZe, Vestergaard, maybe Sumari, and some, maybe even Christensen. I don't know. In the regards that we thought that because they'd been in the Premier League before, that they would be good, but they struggled in the Premier League before. And I think that's cost us. That back two is abject. And Cody for me was actually a very bad signing because it said a lot that Everton and Wolves did not want him, right? And and he the fact that Enzo didn't even play him when we were in the Championship says it. And yeah, Caleb calls it right. I'd rather young, promising players that need improving than old, slow, experienced players that don't give us much. And even worse, you can't get them off the books. Will they want to be here this time next season? I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, let me just do the schedule before we end the show. So tomorrow we've got Foxes then. That's our weekly panel show. Join us for that. Should be fun to see how we entertain ourselves and what's been another defeat. Match preview. I believe you're going to be on the match preview, Luke, this week. You'll be talking about what we're going to make with Enzo. Good Morning Foxes on Sunday. And of course, this time around, we've got a match day on Sunday. It's 2:00. So join us from 20 to 2 when we will start doing the preview and we look at the team lineups. That's it. Thank you all for watching. If you did like the stream, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed to Blue Tinted Glasses, leave your comments down below. What do you think we need to change in order to stay up? Or what do we need to change for next season? Because I don't think many people have actually think we're going to stay up. And unfortunately, on those sad notes, we'll leave you. Thank you so much for joining us on Blue Tinted Glasses. And we will see you next time. Bye.